guys, so today we're going to do a review video on a paint that I use frequently, one that takes up a lot of real estate in my paint cabinet, and I thought about it and went, you know what, I've never done a review video for you guys on this paint, and it's about time. So what paint am I talking about? This is the General Finishes Milk Paint. It is an awesome paint. I use it all the time. It's one of my top paints that I use. And so I thought, you know, for those of you who haven't tried it, I'll go ahead and do a review for you so that you can learn about it, see how it goes on, and I'll give you all the details I can. So one of the things I get asked often, so I kind of thought I would do two-part of the video, is can you paint over previously painted finishes? And the answer is yes. However, that kind of comes with a few more questions under that. Yes, you can paint over a previously painted project. However, it depends on how the final project was sealed. So in other words, if you sealed it with a polyacrylic, which is the water-based poly, yes, you can paint over that. What I would recommend is to scuff that up and clean that surface and then start with your paint. If you have a project that has been sealed with wax, wax is impossible to paint over unless you sand it down. So if you have a waxed piece, you're gonna have to go ahead and knock that all down. Now there's two steps to doing that. One, you can sand it, and then two, follow that up with a mineral spirits bath. I soak a rag in mineral spirits and I wipe it down to make sure I got all of that glossy wax off of there. And you'll know instantly when you go to start your project if you didn't get all the wax off, because the paint will not adhere to that. So you can definitely paint over it, but there are a few other steps. Now, this piece that we used the other day for a different review video has absolutely no seal on it. So I thought, well, perfect, I'm gonna reuse it, so I'll show you guys firsthand how it comes out. This was painted with a chalk paint. It is a really light gray. It has no seal. I still went ahead and prepped it by sanding it down, and then I wiped it clean. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'll tip the camera down for you, and we will go ahead and we will do the General Finishes Milk Paint review. Okay. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. I am stirring up my can, which I would definitely always recommend stir or shake. So one of the things right off the bat I will tell you with General Finishes is their paint can tend to be thick. So you can definitely thin it out. You can use their General Finishes extender, which will also thin it as well as extend the dry time and workability time, or you can add water. We use cups of water, or you can use a spray bottle, whatever you're more comfortable with. So just right off the bat, I wouldn't call that a con with this paint. It's just know it before you buy it. It can tend to be thick, especially the lighter colors. I do notice now see, I'm gonna show you guys. See, that's pretty thick when you think about it. I mean, it kind of sticks to that. I have some paints that are so thin, they'll just drip all over right off the brush. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, I don't think it's a negative thing. I just think it's something that you should be aware of when you're working with this paint, is that it can have a tendency to be on the thick side, and you may want to thin it out. Now, I have a wet brush that I'm working with, so it's making it really easy for me to go ahead and apply my paint, even though it's on the thicker side. And as you can see, I am painting over this pre-painted board that merely all I did was sand down the finish with just a fine grit sanding pad to go ahead, and then I cleaned it off to get it ready for paint. So definitely can. Don't think that just because you've painted a project and you don't like the color that you can't go over it. Now, I'm going to talk to you guys about how the application process is going with this. It is a little tough. I will not lie to you. I do use General Finishes for a huge amount of my projects. However, they can tend to be a little challenging when it comes to applying. And you have to kind of get used to working with them. I have got to stop, or this is going to continue to drag and leave brush strokes. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the camera back on me, and we'll talk a little bit more about this while this sets up and dries. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the General Finishes Milk Paint. So as you saw, I went ahead and applied my first coat, and as I mentioned, it can be a little challenging when the paints are thicker to work with them. So keep that in mind. It doesn't stop me from working with this paint. I just thin it out. I either water it down with my spray bottle, water down my brush, or I keep a cup of water on hand to go ahead and be able to work with the product a little better. The darker colors, lamp black, driftwood, Queenstown gray, those darker colors tend not to be as thick and go on a lot easier. So that's one thing to point out to you guys. So General Finishes milk paint comes in, I think, about 26 colors. And so it's kind of in the middle as far as color selection. A lot of people think that they don't have that great of a color selection. However, the awesome part of General Finishes is they have an excellent website, and they have a thing called the Color Mixing Lab. You can pretty much mix within the same paint line, their milk paint line. You can mix and match any of your colors. Now I know that doesn't appeal to some of you, so that may not be a big deal to you, but it is really kind of cool. If you're not afraid to mix and match your paints, you can literally get the formulas right online. They show you the color, they show you what to put in. It's pretty awesome. I've done it quite a bit, and I really totally think that is such a cool thing, because that is not something that I've seen with any other paint line. So they also do have other paint lines. They do have a chalk paint line, but we're not going to talk about that one day. We're only talking about the milk paint line. I would say before I introduced one of my other paints that I use on a regular basis, General Finishes was pretty much it for me. I just really like the way that I'm able to work with it. I love the way it lays down on my projects. I love the finish. The finish is a satin finish, and it mimics that old world style furniture back in the day, where it's kind of satiny. It's not real high sheen. It does have a top coat built into it, which is really, really nice. Not to say that you can't or you shouldn't seal your pieces, but if you don't want to, it does have that built in. The other cool part of the General Finishes paint is that it's self-leveling. What does that mean? It means that when you put it onto your surface, obviously we have to stop working the same surface area at a certain point, right? And so what this paint allows you to do is put on your paint, and then it will kind of, as it dries, it will kind of level itself out. So you don't have to strive to get that 100% perfection on your first coat. It will kind of level itself out. So it's got really good coverage too. And so yeah, let's go ahead and let this dry up, and we will come back and take a look at the first coat, and we'll put on our second coat. Okay, back. We have let this set up and dry. 30 minutes for the practice board is about average, and so this is the first coat that's gone on. As you can see, I missed a little bit, so I'll get that on my second coat. But I wanted to stop because I felt like it was having a little bit of a hard time going on, and I didn't want it to be dragging and leave a lot of brush strokes. I also got a little bit of water here because I did notice that I didn't dilute the paint directly, that I wanted to for my second coat, have this go on really nice and smooth. This also will help you if you have a heavy hand as well with paint, and you tend to push too hard, and it kind of drives those brush strokes in there. Diluting this with water, and all I do is, you just saw, I dipped my paintbrush into my paint, and then I dipped into my water. And this will help you get a nice, even second coat, and it will let you work with it for a little longer, and that way you'll get the coverage that you're looking for. So we're gonna go ahead and get our second coat on here. Also, by doing this, dipping our brush in the water, it does not have that second coat drag, which I know from experience of working with this paint. If I did not do what I did by dipping it in the water, I definitely would be dragging on my second coat. And when you drag, that tends to leave you with a finish that is less than desirable. So as you can tell, I am able to work this a lot more than I did with the first coat even. That first coat was kind of tough to get on there. So if you're new to this, I can see how that would be discouraging and you wouldn't like this paint. So just keep that in mind when you are working with the General Finishes paint, that it does tend to be a little bit on the thicker side. the lighter colors. So let's go ahead. I have worked this enough, and let's go ahead and show you guys. This is our second coat. We're gonna go ahead and let that dry and set up for another 30 minutes or so, and then we will be back. Well, I am trying so hard. As you can see, I have my off in the background here because we have mosquitoes galore today. It's just gorgeous. And they come out in full force. And I'm like choking on the off, but you know what? The alternative is to not be bitten, so yay me. I'm gonna smell like off. Anyway, getting back to it, here is our practice board. It is done 2 coats. This color is called Persian Blue, one of my absolute favorites. I have a piece in my house that is painted in this color, and it is just a beautiful blue. It's got really beautiful sheen, that really pretty satin sheen. It finishes out really nicely on that second coat. Coverage is great. So let's talk a little bit about general finishes. I'm gonna recap some of the things I love and then some things that might be challenging for you. So some of the things I love the fact that it's got great coverage. I love the fact that they have a color mixing lab available to anybody online, and you can get the formulas and look at the colors online and mix your colors. So that's kind of fantastic. The availability, it's carried at a lot of retailers as well as online. I've ordered my paint on Amazon before, and who doesn't love that? I mean, I've gotten same-day delivery, so that's kind of fantastic. I use this paint for about 80% of my projects, and it is because I just gel with the paint. It works for me. I like to be objective and give you my opinion and my experience and my reviews, and I have not really had a bad one to share with you. So that kind of leads me into some of the things though that might be challenging for some of you who are new to using this paint and may or may not like it. One of the challenges is some of the colors can tend to be thicker, as you saw earlier, and when we were going to do our application, it's kind of a thick paint, and I did stir it up and mix it up and all that good stuff, and it's still pretty thick. So that might kind of frustrate some of you or deter you from using this paint. I would say don't let it, because there are things you can do. As you saw, I dipped my brush in water for that second coat. You can use their extender, you can use a spray bottle. There's all kinds of things that you can do to remedy that and allow your application process to be easier. But I get it, you know, consistency might be an issue for some of you. The first coat, when I put on today, it did tend to drag a little bit. Again, I referenced that back to the fact that it's a little bit thicker of a paint, and so the workability time was pretty fast. I had to be pretty quick. And so for someone that's new, that could also be something that's challenging to work quick because you're new and this isn't something that, you know, is easy for you. So in order to remedy that problem, again, thin it out, use your water. That will help you. Let's see, what else? The fact that they only have 26 colors, that might be a negative to some people. I don't think it is. I think that's about average as far as a paint line. I do use paint lines that have over 50 colors, and that's excellent. But again, they have the color mixing lab available to you online. They give you the formulas. You can mix and match colors, and I've done it, and it's great. So that's a really cool thing that I don't think I've run into that any other paint line has available. So that's kind of a cool thing. It is carried at a lot of local retailers. It also is available to you online. So availability is huge. Some of us don't live, you know, in areas where we can get our paint easily. And so ordering it online is a fantastic option. So that's cool because I've ordered my paint on Amazon, so you can too. And all in all, I would say I would definitely recommend General Finishes. Obviously, I use it all the time or I wouldn't recommend it, but I did want to review it and point out some things to you guys that might be challenges for those of you who have not used it before and let you know what to expect. Oh, the other thing I did want to mention is size and price point. So the price point for the, oh no, as a matter of fact, I have the larger one. So this is the pint here. This is what's mostly available in retail stores I've seen. I do know that some of them do carry the larger quart, so these are the 2 sizes here. But not as easily available. However, this can be ordered online. So price point for this runs about $17.99. They do change a little bit with colors. I know there's maybe 1 or 2 colors or 3 colors. It's a little bit more, but $17.99 is the price point for this. A little goes a long way since the coverage is really good. And then this guy here, I think this one goes for $29. And I got this online because my retailer doesn't carry the large. This will yield quite a bit of furniture. This I can get an entire dresser out of, like a 8 to 10 drawer dresser I can get, unless it's white. I might sometimes need a little more, but anyway, just wanted to mention the sizes and the price points on these guys. So they're not bad. They really aren't. The last thing I did want to say is that it is a self-sealing paint. It's got that top coat built into the paint, so you don't have to seal it if you don't want to. That's a real appeal to some people because they don't want to go that extra step. And believe me, I have several pieces that I have painted for myself personally that I have not sealed, and they held up beautifully. Not only do they have that gorgeous satin sheen, they have held up just as nicely. So there it is there. General Finishes Milk Paint in a nutshell. I hope that was helpful to you guys. I've been wanting to do a review video on this paint forever since it's one of my main paints that I use here in the workshop. So I really appreciate you watching. Thank you for subscribing. Please pass me along to your friends and family and whoever else might be interested. I'm always looking to get new subscribers. So thanks you guys so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.